Good morning. We're going to run you through how to do the laser cut phone stand. I already have Rhino set up. I'm in small objects inches, and I have my layer set up. Raster engrave is going to be black. I have a second one named vector engrave, which is going to be blue. And it's important when we set this up that we get it to be blue 255. If we just click on blue, that should be fine, but double check here on the RGB side that it says 255. If not, the laser won't read it quite right. And then we need a cut layer, which is going to be red. And this one, we need to make sure we click on red and that it's red or R255, again, so that the laser will cut it right. The default red layer that's over here when we start is typically red. I think it's 200, so not quite 255. It needs to be red 255. We also need to have a layer that we call artwork, and the color for that at the moment does not matter. Now the couple other things we need to set up, we want ortho on, we want O-snap on, and we want end, midpoint, and intersection selected, and then I typically have gumball on. Now the last thing we need to do before we actually start drawing this is we need to figure out the dimensions of our phone or our device that we're using. And I use the notes command in Rhino to go ahead and type that in here just as a reminder for me. But mine is 3 inches wide, 6 inches tall, and about a ½ inch thick. It doesn't have to be precise. It's okay if it's a little bit over that. So these are the dimensions here that we're going to be working with. 6 inches long, 3 inches wide, ½ inch thick for this demo. Okay, so I'll hide that for a minute. Now I'm going to start with the polyline tool. And what I'm going to do is draw basically the outline of the phone. And it's just going to be a rectangular box. So we'll start at 0. It's 6 inches long, so we'll do 6, enter. Pull it up and drag. 3 inches wide, so 3, enter. Drag it to the right, down to 6 inches, and drag it down. Okay? So I have part of the frame that would go around the phone right here. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to add some slots in here, because these two pieces are going to sit at a 90-degree angle to each other, and they're going to fit in there. So we're going to make our slots 3/4 of an inch wide, so 3/4 of an inch this way. I'm going to go 0.75, enter, drag it to the left, and click. Now I want that slot, or that opening, to be 114 thousandths. So I'm going to drag it down, type 114, enter, and drag it down that way. And then I'm going to go back to the right, 3/4 of an inch, so 0.75, enter, there we go. Now for our bottom part, we're going to go ahead and make that part 1 3/4 inches. Okay, so that gives us about the right angle. So we're going to go down 1.75, enter, and click. Go over to the left, 3 inches, enter, click. Go up 1.75 inches, enter, click it up. Now keep in mind, over here we went 0.75 inches. So we're going to go 0.75, enter. Click, go up 0.114, enter, click, and then we'll go ahead and close our open polyline. So our phone will sit up here, this part will be down below, and then the stand will, or the back part, the kickstand, will fit between these two slots right here. Now the other thing we want to do is we want to add fillet to the corners, so make our corners rounded. Over here on the left, we have this curved line with a corner. We're going to click on that, and it's up to you what you do for a radius of your fillet. I'm going to do 0.5 inches and see if I like that, so I can just type 0.5, enter. And then what we do is we go up to the corner and we click on either side of the corner, and it makes that corner rounded. Do that to the next one. Yeah, I like the way that looks, so I'll go with 0.5 here. If you like something different, you can change that. We'll do the same thing on these bottom two corners. And all I'm doing is I'm right-clicking just to repeat that command. Okay? So here's what we need here. The only other thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a little opening here where we can run a cord through so that we could charge this at the same time that it's sitting on the stand if we want, without the cord being kind of in the way. So I'm going to use my arc tool, and if I hover over it, it says arc center start angle, and I'm going to click on that, and because I have midpoint selected, I can go down here, and all I'm going to do is put a half circle here where the cord can fit through. So I'm going to go out, I don't know, let's go out 0.5 inches and see what we think of that. So I'll go out 0.5, pull it up and over. Yeah, that works. That matches the fillet that I have in the corners here and gives us a big enough opening. If you want to make it smaller, you would do something smaller than 0.5. But now what I need to do is I need to trim this section right here out. So I'm going to highlight both of those, type trim, enter, click on that section right there. And now we've got a spot where we can run our cord up through the center. But the last thing we need to do on this one is highlight both of those sections and type join. In doing so, that makes this one complete closed curve. And now this, I'm going to move to my cut layer. So change object layer. That's red, that's on my cut layer. Next, I need to make the stand that's going to go on the back that's going to fit through these slots. Now for that, we make this part the same width, but we'll make it 2.5 inches long. So I'm going to come out here. I'm going to go ahead and start on the cut layer, just so I don't have to change it. And I like things to be even, so we'll use Smart Track, come out here, then we'll turn Smart Track off. So I'm going to go 2.5, enter, okay, and then 3 inches, enter, drag it out and click, down 2.5, enter, click, and then close this up. Next piece is to add the tabs that are going to fit in here. You could potentially draw them in just to start, but we're going to go ahead and add them in right now. So this is where the thickness of the phone comes into play. So if we pull up the notes, the thickness of mine was 1/2 inch. So I'm going to start by making this 0.5 inches. Okay, but there's a couple other things we want to add. We need to account for the thickness of the plywood that we're using, of the birch. And in that case, this is 1/8 inch. So we're going to add another 0.125 inches. Okay, and then I want to give myself just a little bit of room in case the phone moves a little bit, so it's not going to slip off. So I'm going to add another 0.125 inches. Okay, and click up. And so right there is the length of the tab or the finger that's going to fit in that slot. Now we made this one over here 3/4 inch, so this is going to go over 0.75. We'll hit enter, drag it out to the right, and then we're going to bring it down just until it intersects with that part and stop. So there's one tab, okay? We're going to add this tab to the left side over here now. But rather than redrawing it, we're going to highlight it. We're going to type mirror, like the mirror you might look in the bathroom. Okay, hit enter. And because we have midpoint selected, I can click or snap to the midpoint here, drag it down to the midpoint there, and it adds it to the other side for me without having to completely redraw it. Now we have to use our trim function to get these sections out. So this is one continuous piece. So we'll highlight that. Type trim, cut that out, and cut that out. Enter, and then we have to join, so it's one continuous piece. Okay? Now I'm going to add some fillets to these corners. So I'll go over here to fillet, do the bottom corner, do the other bottom corner. Now that 1/2 inch radius that we set is going to be too big for up here. I could do one, and you see that goes well past the center. If I try to do the other side, it won't do it. Okay, because it's too big of a radius. So we'll undo that, hit fillet. I'm going to try 1/8 inch. I don't want a huge fillet here, so let's try 0.125. Enter, Click here, click there. Yeah, that'll work. I just want to soften the corners basically. So I can right click and just click on either side of the corner. Okay, and there we go. Now that will fit within here. Now the other thing that we need to do, the last part that we need to do, is add some artwork to this. So it's up to you what you put on here. You could put your name, you could put a picture, you could put a design. That's totally up to you. I already have, and I'm going to hide that for now, some artwork that I put in just to speed this up. And in this case, I'm going to use the Braves logo. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drag that over here and get it set up where I want it. Let's align those so we can get them centered this way. There we go, and then we'll go ahead and move it up. Now I have some options, and I have a couple of different engraving layers here. I could click in the raster engrave. I could hatch that. And if I do that, it will engrave all this and fill it in. But I think what I want to do instead is just have it vector engrave where it just says the outline. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to right click on vector engrave, change object layer. And now that's blue 255 and it will just engrave that. But maybe drag this up a little bit. I'm going to add some text object. Whoops, that's on the other screen. There we go. Add my last name. Let's change that to Nike Bureau, and let's set that to 1/2 inch and see if that fits. There we go. That fits. I'm going to align these. Vertical center. There we go. Now this one is on the raster engrave layer, and I'm going to go ahead and hatch that. Hit OK. So it's going to do the logo up here. I've got my name that will engrave in the bottom, so this will engrave, just a single line. This will engrave, completely fill that in, and then it will cut all of this out here, all the exterior. So I'm going to go File, Save As, save it in my documents, and it's going to be Eggleston Tim, and this is phone stand. So we'll save that, and then we'll go back into Canvas and put it in the link and put done. And there's our phone stand.